Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of Deep Thought, brought to you by Drew Arrington and Kellogg's Frosted Flakes. No, just kidding. We'll take that out of there because, Kellogg's might sue me or something. I hope not. Anyway, probably talking about philosophy and their product. So welcome to another version of Deep Thought. Today we are going to be talking about patience. And the difference between patience and tolerance, how impatient we are as a people now as comparison to about 20 years ago when we were a little bit more patient. Actually, it's probably not more along the lines of we were a little bit more tolerant. Okay, so in going into this, I want to explain my understanding of what patience and tolerance are so that you guys understand where I'm coming from. Oh, she's knocking the camera again. Did you knock the camera?
Sure.
Oh. So, tolerance. Let's go into tolerance first. Tolerance is... What is tolerance? It's something. It's something profound, and we're going to talk about it. Tolerance is basically putting up with or enduring something. And when you endure something, basically, when you look up the word enduring, it tells you that it's dealing with a hardship or something that's unpleasant. Okay, so what tolerance is you're putting up with it. It's not like you're accepting it for anything. It's there, you don't like it, so you have a judgment on it. You have a judgment that it's bad, but, so you either make the choice to put up with it because you get some other major benefit, some other gooder thing that sort of makes up for you having to put up with this, or you put up with it because you don't want to make it worse, or something like that. Okay, so tolerance is basically enduring something, and then when you're enduring it, it's a judgment that you are putting up with something that you consider bad or wrong, yet you allow it to be without making a fuss, or you control your anger around it, or you're irritated but it doesn't blow into full anger or anything like that. So tolerance is this: you're just enduring something that you've judged as bad or wrong, so you're putting up with. Patience, on the other hand, in my understanding, is a complete acceptance of a thing. And when I talk about complete acceptance, now I got into a discussion about this, and the whole discussion sort of centered around the difference between patience and tolerance, and somebody brought up, well, I think that there's tolerance in patience, I'm making a clear-cut, defined line here as patience being absolute acceptance of a thing. And when we're talking about absolute acceptance, we're talking about taking this thing. Okay, so let's take an irritating thing. Say somebody's poking you in the shoulder. It's one of my favorite analogies here. Somebody's poking you in the shoulder like this, the whole time. Now, you can tolerate that. You can go, oh, that feels awful. I hate that this person is poking me in the shoulder. But if they poke me in the shoulder a whole bunch of times, I'm going to get candy, so I'm going to put up with it. Okay? It's a simple analogy. So, you put up with them poking you in the shoulder in the hopes that you're going to get candy. Okay? Something good comes at the end of it, so you tolerate it. Now, then there's somebody poking you in the shoulder, and you going, oh, this person's poking me in the shoulder. Huh. You go, okay, this person's poking me in the shoulder. It doesn't annoy you or anything at all, and you just go, well, I've got to go do this thing, so I think I'm going to have to get this person to stop poking me in the shoulder. I'm sorry, you're going to have to stop poking me in the shoulder. Or you do something about it. You take action upon it that is not filled with anger or frustration or anything like that. There's no frustration. You see what the situation is. You totally accept that there's a person poking you in the shoulder. You also know that there may be candy at the end of it. But then you make a rational choice of whether you want this person to continue poking you in the shoulder, if that furthers what it is that you're doing, or that you want to ask this person to stop poking in the shoulder, or get the person to stop poking you in the shoulder. There's no big huge judgment on the fact that the person is poking in the shoulder. You accept that the person is poking in the shoulder. The person probably has a reason for poking you in the shoulder, and you choose what to do next. A tolerant person will tolerate it to the point of when they see there's going to be no benefit for them. You know, and a tolerant person, if that thing persists enough, that will blow into full-blown anger and possibly rage. So the difference between patience and tolerance in this situation, what I'm talking about, is patient means you totally accept a situation for what it is and then choose what you need to do next without anger or resentment. None of those are motivating factors in what you're choosing. You're choosing it because you say, oh, how do I best choose to express myself in this situation, or how do I best choose to do these things? What do I choose next? Whereas in tolerance means that you don't accept the situation for what it is. Basically, it's a denial of reality, what I would consider a denial of reality. Tolerance says, I'm putting up with it because there's benefit for me some way. It's not going to blow up. I'm going to get candy at the end of it. Or somebody's going to kiss me, or I'm going to get laid, or whatever you want tacked onto that. And as it persists, thanks, son. As it persists, it was nice. As it persists, your tolerance wears down to the point where you get angry, right? Basically, you get frustrated and then angry, and everybody goes, "Oh no, I wasn't angry. I was just frustrated." This is one of my pet peeves, so you guys have to listen to it. Is the difference between frustration and anger. And I get this one all the time. Oh, I go, why are you angry? I'm not angry, I'm just frustrated. Okay? So, as far as I'm concerned, frustration is anger light. It has all the hallmarks. And if the more frustrated they get, the more full-blown anger. So it's like, somebody says, oh, I'm not angry, I'm just frustrated. Okay, so how frustrated are you? Like halfway to anger frustrated? No. But anyway, it's all anger, it's just suppressed. Okay, anyway, moving on. So, there we have the difference between patience and tolerance. Okay, one of the many thousands of things that I see us doing at this point in our lives is we've lost our ability to be patient as people. I can blame it on a lot of things, mass media, all of that stuff. I mean, that all contributes to it. But our progress as a people and our progress in the scientific area that make things faster and easier to get, this is what I call the McDonald's generation. No affiliation with the actual McCafe. Okay. The McDonald's generation, because we are so used to getting everything right now. And as opposed to 20 years ago, and here's my main analogy on this one, is that we go into a bank. I go into a bank all the time, and you have to stand in line, right? Not at the tellers. I'm not going to the teller. I have to go to the bank. I have some actual banking that needs to be done that I can't do electronically. So I'm standing in the bank line, and I'm a fairly patient person because I was able to teach myself some patience. Not a ton. I still get impatient, so don't get me wrong here. But in situations like this, I go, oh, okay, well, I've got to wait in line. I do stuff with my brain, or I have conversations with myself in my head, or sometimes I strike up a conversation with the person next to me, crack a joke, do something like that. And but I hear all of these people talking, grumble, oh, they should have more tellers on, and we have people talking in the background. Hi, people talking in the background. And they're grumbling about and these are old guys. These are guys that are older than me that remember way back when all we had was to stand in line at the bank. There was no instant tellers. There was no convenient online banking. Everything you did had to go through the bank, and you had to stand in line. The thing is back then we had an expectation that there was going to be a line. You were going to go into the bank. You were hoping that there wasn't going to be a line. Okay, there was a lot of hope in it. But we had the expectation that there was going to be a line and that we're going to have to wait, especially at noontime. I mean, they had all the tellers on, but their line was like huge. So you're waiting at the bank for 10, 20 minutes. No problem. Do you need to get, okay, just making sure. Um, so we're standing in the bank 10, 20 minutes at a time, and that was nothing. We weren't grumbling. I mean, we were like, we would rather be somewhere else, which is the hallmark of tolerance as opposed to patience, because we had to put up with it. But again, now we don't even have any tolerance for it. There's no tolerance for standing in line because, hell, we could go online and do our online banking in 2 minutes, and we can go over to the instant teller and wait 3 minutes to get onto the teller, and I can have all my banking done. But now I've got to go do this, and it requires me to go talk to a person, and so we've got our tolerance level has lowered to a great degree. So we didn't really have patience in the first place. We just had to do it because there was no other choices. Now that we've been presented with all of these high-tech choices, I mean, take a look at what I'm doing right now. I am sitting here being instantly gratified, talking to a bunch of people on my YouTube channel via this beautiful camera that I've got, and this beautiful woman who's running my camera. And so I've got this luxury. I've got this huge luxury, and I understand that I do, and I'm grateful every day that I have these luxuries. But if I didn't have them, I would find some other form. I would be printing in a newspaper, or I would be writing a book, or as it goes. So, but I mean, I have the patience level to be able to do that. But we've got all these choices. We've got the instant gratification, and we've been, eating it up. Even the old people eat it up. They love having to be able to do their banking online or get all of that stuff done that much quicker. I was talking to a lady that was in the real estate industry, and she said, you know what, the computer was supposed to make our lives so much better. She said the computer was fantastic. When we first got it, we could access all this information immediately, and it made our lives easier. And she said the problem that happened was, sure, for the first little while, it made our lives really, really easy. But then everybody started expecting to have their assessments and everything done tomorrow. Right? And so everybody got irritable when you didn't have it. I mean, she said before, when we were doing it via paper and on the phone, it was 2 weeks. Now it's tomorrow. So we do more cases in a day than we ever did before. Our productivity is way up. But our stress level is now way up because now we're dealing with different projects all the time. Right? So she said the consumer sees more benefit to them, but we don't see more benefit to us. We're actually working harder than we did before on the other end. So we as consumers now expect all of this stuff. So our expectations have gone up, and so our tolerance level has gone down. The more expectation you have of something different, the more tolerance level goes down, and we get angry and frustrated and all of that stuff. Well, what's going on with our world? Take a look at what we're doing, not only to each other, but to everybody, right? To everything. We get angry because we're not getting what we want. Again, if you've seen my stuff on anger, you understand that. The only reason that we're getting angry is because we're not getting what we want. Well, because our expectation level is so high in the society, and our tolerance level is so low. We can't tolerate somebody doing that, Oh, they're like this, and oh, they're like that. I mean, we're constantly berating everybody else because, well, truth be told, one, we were never taught to be patient. And I don't think that anybody's ever been taught to be patient. There may be a few, I think Buddhist monks teach patience, and so if you come from a family of Buddhists, you might be actually way more patient than most people because they were being taught that from the onset. But most of us don't know how to do that. One, because we don't even know how to do it ourselves. So how can we teach something we don't own? So all we're teaching is our intolerance at this point. But we were just teaching tolerance before. Oh, well, we have to put up with it, and so therefore we just got to do it. There's no acceptance in that. There's no patience in that. You don't accept the current situation and then choose to work within it. Nice. Bang. You know, there is none of that. There is no patience in what we're doing. And I think our, one of our main problems is that's the truth, is nobody's got any patience. Nobody has any tolerance for patience, right? Nobody has any expectation towards patience, really, to be able to accept the world. Now, we talk about that, and there's a bunch of authors out there, Eckhart Tolle, Neil Donald Walsh, they talk about a lot of this stuff, and those are just the two that I've read. And they talk about patience, and they talk about understanding sort of what that is. They don't really go into huge depth. Eckhart Tolle probably more than the other person, because it's about accepting what is. And if you are not a patient person, what you are is you're denying what is. You're saying, I don't like the look of that, and so therefore I won't look. It's like, no. It's like if I was diagnosed with cancer, we'll check that out. No, I'm not going to be, but if I was diagnosed with cancer, then or I have symptoms of having cancer, right? Say I looked on the internet and I said, oh, these symptoms might be cancer. Well, I'm not going to go to the doctor because I don't want to have cancer. This does not negate, or this doesn't negate the fact that you have cancer. If you have it, right? So not going to the doctor just so that I don't want to know. I don't want to know. So, but the longer you wait, the worse it gets, right? So that denial is denying reality. You can't deny reality for long without it catching up to you. And the same thing goes with just being tolerant. Because the acceptance is I don't accept that. So you're basically denying it. You're saying, I'll just put up with it until a better way comes along. Okay? Now, hey, don't get me wrong. Lots of inventors out there are really intolerant people. They go, there's got to be a better way to do this, right? Because I don't want to do this like this anymore. There's got to be a better way. Okay? So intolerance actually, when we're talking about pushing our stuff forward, yeah, sure, it's developed that. But take a look at a world of patience. Imagine a patient person saying, my love is to be able to do these things. Well, let's find a better way to do this. Let's find a better way to do that. Not because it makes people angry, but because there's a better way. There's a way to be able to allow this person to be able to stop, save a bunch of time over here so that they can put that time towards their kids or their chosen vocation, so that they can put more time towards their schooling, or they can put more time towards that. There's a difference in driving our people through tolerance and patience. Patience is a love-oriented emotion, and tolerance is a fear-oriented emotion. And that's just true. If you're tolerant, you're in fear on some level that you're not going to get. Whereas if you're patient, there is no fear around it, because you've already accepted what it is, and then you make a choice on what you wish to create with that. And you create your world from a view of patience. Okay, so now that I've talked about that, one of my big things is how do we teach patience to our kids? I mean, imagine a child. I mean, all parents that I know of. Okay, not all parents, but like lots of parents that I know of go, oh, I wish my child would do better than me. Okay, how can a child do better than you if you cannot teach them better? Right? If you cannot learn yourself and pass that learning on to them. Because if you create that in them, you create a child that has a mind that expands and understands and has the self-confidence to be able to do those things. There is no way they're going to surpass you. Because then people go, well, I don't want to be like my mom, and then they end up turning into people like their mom. Well, it's partly because they don't have the understanding on how to be able to trump that. There's some people that do, but not a lot. But to be able to pass that on to your children. Patience is a major thing to be able to pass along to your children. it is something that will help them no end, because a patient person is self-confident. And we want our children to be self-confident. So how do you do that? Well, you have to start really to, one, understand patience, as I've described here, difference between patience and tolerance, and then find out, how do I accept these things as they are, to be able to eradicate the anger in my life. Meditation, very good tool to be able to center yourself to the point of understanding how to release anger. But the majority of the work comes in just working with, why am I angry? All of that stuff, working through that. Whether it's through psychologists, whether it's through a friend, to be able to talk and trust somebody to be able to get through some of the stuff. Or also to be able to recognize what your parents did with you, how they taught tolerance rather than patience. Because they were only tolerant with you. And that's the big key. Nobody was really patient with you. Nobody was saying, I don't know if you remember, but I see it all the time around me, all over the place. But I also remember how impatient, how intolerant my mom was with me as a child when I wanted a candy and I screamed at the store and I wanted a candy. No, we're going to go, berating me for crying and being a child. Because children are children and they're going to do that. Here's some advice to you if you're planning on having a child. They are going to do all of those things. Most people are sort of in denial. They have this idea that their children will be angelic. I don't understand why. And if you don't want to have a kid, don't. But when the kid is, crying and whining for the candy and their parents are berating them, and I was at a store the other day, and it's like sort of my favorite story at the moment, because I was watching this lady and her kid, and we were in this big line, and of course they shunt you down these wonderful corridors to get to the tills that are lined with stuff, right? They know how to make a sale. Right? They inundate you with, I might need that, and as you're going through this line. Well, the little kid was, I'd guess, about two or three, something like that. And the little kid was, playing with stuff on the hooks, and the lady was being tolerant. Don't play with that, and but her tolerance started to wear down, right? Because the kid was there, no, and you shouldn't be doing that, and no, well, if you keep doing that, this is what's going to happen. And it just escalated into this, her being so angry at the child for being a child, and the kid's going, well, I want that, I'm never going to take you shopping again, blah, 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 blah. So, all of this stuff. The tolerance degraded down into what it really is, which is the fear of embarrassment, or around other people, or she's going to look bad if her child is out of control, or something like that. Now that's just a guess. I can't say for sure, but that's what I see a lot. It's mostly how other people look at you and your child, that you're not being a good parent because your child is being a child, which is kind of silly, because children are children. But there was no patience in it. Okay. Now, if I take a look at that same situation, would a patient person have to threaten the child? Not at all, right? Child says, I want that. And the patient person says, well, you're not going to get it. It's okay. Okay, well, just keep crying. Patient person would patiently hold on to the child and say, we should probably move out of line because these people might, it might be irritating them, so let's go this way, and, I think we're going to go home because of it. So, but there's no anger, there's no frustration at the child, because I tell you something, and I don't know if anybody knows this, because I was cognizant from a very, very early age. I remember before I was one, okay, and I have memories of being humiliated by my parents and all of that stuff. If we create that in children, what we do is we perpetuate that intolerance, okay? We are intolerant with them, and we are angry with him, what are we going to do? We're going to perpetuate that with them because they think that that's normal. That's the normal thing to do, and it is. Take a look around you. Take a look around at how many people are intolerant and angry. You know, just look at yourself when you're in a situation like that, when you're feeling embarrassed, when you're feeling whatever. You are intolerant. There's no patience. There's intolerant, or you're tolerant, and then you get intolerant or impatient. Okay? It finally degrades, almost always does. So, what are we teaching our kids by doing that? By humiliating our kids. Well, it's your fault because you're a child, and there is no fault in it. The situation is this is a child, and this child, all it knows is it wants. Okay, all it understands is how to manipulate to get what it wants. Okay, a lot of times parents will break down and finally get the child what they want because they don't want to take them out of line. They don't want to do this and they don't want to do that. They're all embarrassed, and so just to get the kid to shut up, they give them what they want. Well, the child learns from that, of course. It's like, whoa, well, I know if I make enough noise, I got them, right? That's not what they're thinking, but it's sort of like the dog and the bell, right? You know, you ring the bell and the dog salivates, right? You know, because you fed it when you ring the bell every time. And so next time you ring the bell and the saliva glands start and everything like that. And so, I mean, that's all you're doing is you're creating that in your child. So imagine a patient parent. Imagine teaching patience to your child by being patient and understanding and accepting that the child is going to be that. And accepting that if you take the child out into an environment where there's lots of candy and all of that stuff, that the child will act this way. Okay? Not all children do, but the majority do. And we've got singers in the background. Hi, Nikita, Haley. Okay. But you cannot teach the child that without demonstrating that. You have to find how to do that for yourself. How to be able to hold patience in your life, which means that you need to let go of the fear, the anger, accept the situation as it is, and choose a different path. And the only way for you to do that is find out how to do that for yourself. Understand that the behaviors can be exactly what they are. Understand and look at yourself and say, how can I demonstrate patience to my children? Because when your children understand that and they grow up with patience and they grow up with somebody that's understanding, caring, accepting, and less intolerant, you create a child who is self-sufficient, who is self-centered, and who is self-confident. And patience will do that. But you have to understand that it starts with you. The demonstration of patience starts every single day. What is this situation? What did I choose? Understand that you chose. Understand that if you've got a child, you chose that. Every single day you chose that. You said, I wanted one. And so there it is. Now, what is it in this situation that I have to absolutely accept about this? Is that children are like this. They behave like this. This one behaves like that. That one behaves like this. Okay, so that's what it is. Now, how do I wish to impart the understanding of patience, understanding, caring, and love onto this person, even if I'm tired, even if I, have a headache, anything like that, okay? No matter what, you're going to fall. Everybody does. They reach situations. They have intolerances. They have impatience. I don't expect anybody to be perfect in this. But it's to take a look at yourself, see where you are being impatient in your life, and try and figure out how to accept that situation and move forward. By doing that in your own life, you demonstrate every single day to your kids how to do it for themselves. And you also demonstrate to your kids how to be patient with them. To be able to accept that they are going to make mistakes. And to be able to accept those mistakes and figure out where you need to go from there. Patience allows you to do that. Tolerance, intolerance does not. And that's it. Patience and tolerance.